Hello, third grade. So we have finished up our studies on the water cycle. And I think just a natural fit after talking about the natural resource of water is to discuss the natural resource of soil. And it's one that we really take for granted, but is super important to our food supply and all the plants and our environment. Soil plays a really key role in our lives. So, we are going to start discussing soil. And so, what I'm going to do today is just introduce to you a little bit about soil. And then, what I'd like you to do is you will make a illustration of the layers of soil, okay, in your notebook. All right, and you'll label them. All right, so let me read to you first a little bit about soil and the layers, and then we'll go into your activity. All right. Soil is the loose material that covers most of Earth's land. We know this. Plants grow in soil, animals such as ants and earthworms live in soil, and many, many others, some small animals, some small mammals, reptiles. The rocks in the soil are in tiny bits, like bigger rocks. They are made of minerals. Minerals are solid materials that form in nature. Minerals were never alive, okay? The second material in soil was once alive. It is called humus. When plants and animals die, they break down or decay. The decayed matter is called humus. And so remember when we did in the beginning of the year the food webs, and we talked about decomposers. Those decomposers help make the humus in the soil, and it's really nutritious for plants, super important part of the soil. The last two materials in soil are air and water. Air and water fill little spaces between the bits of rock and humus in soil. Soil has minerals that growing plants need. So if you don't have nutrient-rich soil, the plants won't grow. All soil has three main layers, and this is where your activity comes in. The top layer of soil is the one that we walk on. It's called topsoil. Makes sense. Topsoil has lots of humus. Topsoil is fine and loose. Many plants and animals live in topsoil. Plant roots grow in topsoil. They push into the spaces between the rocks and the humus. Okay? The middle layer of soil is called subsoil. Subsoil is mostly bits of rock. There is little humus here. Subsoil has a lighter color than topsoil, so it looks different visually. Few plants and animals live in the subsoil. Some tree roots, though, grow down into this layer. Okay, they go deep. Under the subsoil is the third layer of soil. It is made up of large pieces of rock. There is no humus here. No plants and animals live in the bottom layer. Some places on Earth have soil that is many meters deep. Other places have soil that is only a few centimeters deep. Under the bottom layer of soil is bedrock. Bedrock is solid rock. So that reminds me of Hawaii. When you go to the beach in Hawaii, we're used to going to the beach and the waves can move in and out and our feet can sink deeper and deeper into the sand. I don't know if you've ever done that. But in Hawaii, there's only a few, maybe an inch or two of sand before you hit lava rock. So everywhere is different on the earth. Okay, how does soil form? Okay, does it just pop into existence? It takes hundreds of years for a thin layer of soil to form. Soil forms when rocks break down into smaller and smaller pieces. This is called weathering. Okay? Many different things can weather rocks. I'm sure you can think of some. Rain weathers rocks and wears them away. Water in streams and rivers weathers rock too. Think of the Grand Canyon. We talked about how the power of the water wears away the rock, right? Same thing with a lot of the caves that you guys studied in the caverns. Those rocks were moved away from water erosion and weathering. Wind can cause weathering. Wind picks up sand and blows it against rocks. The sand acts like sandpaper, and bits of rocks rub off. Changes in temperature can cause weathering too. water gets into cracks in rocks, and when the weather gets cold, the water freezes, and as the water changes into ice, it gets bigger, and the ice can push the rock apart. Pieces of the rock break off. So we know that ice, the matter of water when it's in the ice form, expands a little bit. If you've ever frozen a bottle of water too long, it'll pop right through the cap. The ice expands. And so it gets inside the cracks of the rock, and it's so powerful that it actually can split it open. We see this in sidewalks and in streets. Really, in New England, it happens a lot. They call them frost heaves, where you're driving along and you're going like this on the road because it's so cold there. The moisture in the asphalt makes these little bumps. It's ice underneath. Okay? Glaciers also weather rocks. Glaciers are huge sheets of ice. They move slowly down a mountain. A glacier is very heavy. As it moves, it scrapes and pushes layers of soil and rock against each other. Rocks break into smaller pieces, and then they become part of the soil. Living things can cause weathering too. Plant roots may grow in cracks in the rocks. As the roots grow, they make the cracks bigger. Slowly the rocks split apart, and this can be a problem for us. If we have a home too close to a tree, the roots can actually do damage to our home because the roots go down deep into the ground and can break right through the foundation of our house. So we have to be careful and think about nature when we plant things around our homes. Okay, almost done for today. Weathered rocks are an important part of soil, but soil also must have humus, air, and water, okay? Humus comes from decaying plants and animals. It also comes from the waste of animals that live in soil. If no one rakes up fallen leaves, they will slowly decay. Insects, worms, mushrooms, and many very tiny living things live in the soil. They have changed the leaves into humus. The humus becomes part of the soil. Animals in soil help mix the materials in the soil together. Ants and worms spend most of their time moving around. They carry humus from the surface down into the soil. They also dig tunnels in the soil. This helps air and water get into the soil. So we learned in our food web and in our food chains, everything plays a role. And in the worms and the ants are very important to help plants grow. They make their little tunnels, and the rainwater can come in more easily and get to all the plant roots. So they play a big, important role. And here's a picture of our decomposers, just like we learned. They help break down decaying things and turn it into part of the soil. So we will stop there. I'm just going to show you, and I'll give you another example as well for your activity. This is a kind of an idea for how you can label and draw your layers of soil in your notebook, in your science notebook. I will give you the words so you can spell them correctly and label the correct layers. And I would like you to draw and indicate to me, remembering that we talked about how the subsoil is a different color shade. It's a little bit different than the topsoil, and you can see from what we learned that the amount of rock gets bigger and bigger as we go down. So I would like you to label and draw the layers of soil today in your notebook, okay? All right, great. See you next time.